Hello, everyone. We'll just give a couple minutes in case more people would like to join, and we'll be starting shortly with Harry.
I'll actually put my slide up while I'm waiting, if that's okay.
Sure, sounds great.
I'll speak to it when you're ready.
All right, shall we start? Ari is a JFrog Meetup event manager and would like to say a few words.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Olga. Hi, everyone. My name is Ari Waller, and as Olga said, I am the Meetup event manager for JFrog. And at JFrog, we're really, really excited to be a main sponsor again for DevOps Underground. This is very exciting for us. And we want to make you aware of our upcoming global DevOps conference, SwampUp 2021, which is coming to EMEA June 2nd and 3rd. And JFrog wants you to get in for free, everyone at this meetup. As you can see on the slides, we have an amazing, some amazing content prepared with breakout sessions, but also we have an awesome CEO panel, which includes the CEO of HashiCorp, PagerDuty, Datadog, Elastic, and JFrog, and of course, we can't forget about Alan Schimmel. So some of the breakout sessions that you'll be able to see, which will be really, really awesome, are Alyssa Miller is one of our keynotes. She's the Business Information Security Officer from S&P Global Ratings. Sasha Rosenbaum from Red Hat, Senior Manager there, and John Willis, Senior Director of Global Transformation Office with Red Hat as well. So we hope that you'll definitely enjoy this. The link that we're going to share with you will allow you not to get into the main conference day only, but also a second day for free. We have a deep dive tutorial day on June 3rd that if you were just going to the JFrog website for SwampUp, you would have to pay for. But for DevOps Underground, we're going to drop some links into the chat for you to get in for free. So we hope to see you all at SwampUp. As one added bonus, Baruch is going to be speaking in just a few moments, and he is going to make you aware of our giveaway today. When he speaks about a raffle that you're going to go to his show notes page for, we are going to be allowing you to enter to win a Google Home Hub. So you can do two things. One is we'll drop the link in the chat later. Baruch will tell you the URL. It'll be, frankly, on all of his slides. And you will also have an opportunity to enter. Winners are selected within 2 business days, and we'll contact you via email and then share it with the entire DevOps Underground community. But again, it's such a pleasure to be a main sponsor for the DevOps Underground again. And Olga, I'm going to turn it right back over to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That was a great introduction. We're looking forward to that conference. All right. Our next speaker is Baruch. 1 second. Baruch?
Hello. Hey.
Hello. Welcome. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so first of all, it's great to be here. That would be my 3rd time in DevOps Underground. Unfortunately, two of them are virtual, but I've attended an in-person event, I think 2 years ago, in 2019, and that was a blast. I mean, it was great. Really enjoyed, and hopefully next time it will be in person again. Fingers crossed. But yeah, I love your meetup, and it's great to be here. My name is Baruch. I am the chief sticker officer at JFrog. It's what my business card says. Because when I come to Devs Underground in person, I bring stickers. This is why. I'm also head of DevRel advocacy, and today we're going to talk about security and DevOps, which obviously implies DevSecOps, but not only. We'll try to take a larger picture on security and how it can help us engineers that work with DevOps to be better. Yep.
Sounds exciting. All right.
All right. So let's take it away. Let's talk about security. All right. Okay, here we go. If you attended my previous talks, either online or in person, you remember that I love to talk about Alex. Alex is a fictional engineer that goes through different stages in their professional life. If you remember, they started as a developer and then they became they discovered they started as a system administrator, discovered there is no such thing as DevOps engineer, ended up in transforming their organization to DevOps, and ended up being the chief information officer in their organization. And I would like to start with a weird, for many of us, perspective of the CIO. I mean, I don't know how many CIOs are with us now online. Assuming there are not many, that would be a little bit kind of weird to put this hat on, but let's do it for the fun. The CIO has a lot on their plate, and Alex has a lot on their plate. They need to worry about stuff like data protection. Data protection, both imposed by laws, but it's also a good thing to take care of the data of your customers anyway. And security. Security breaches, look at the numbers and look at this list. 3.5 billion personal records stolen. 15 largest breaches include whatever name you want, including from I think all the big ones are here, and some which are not with us anymore, like MySpace. Yay. Anyway, it's a big problem. It comes in many ways and forms. One of my favorites is this one. Hackers managed to breach into those lockers that we ship our online purchases to and open all of them at once. And it comes back to, in the end of the day, everything, because there are security breaches which are down to processors, to the CPU, like Meltdown and Spectre. You might say, well, those are old news. You told us about those in 2019, but what we hear in the last couple of months, that those bastards are back. And they're more dangerous than ever because they operate on an even lower level. And now the patches will degrade the performance even more. So some people might want not to do that and being exploited. Anyway, again, you were there in my previous talks. You remember the classical 3 steps of reactive security. Identify that you have been breached, fix, and then deploy to production. This diagram has a lot to do about security, but it also has a lot to do about DevOps, because one of the reasons we see the shift to become better DevOps organizations, and you can see how the number of elite organizations tripled in a year from 2018 to 2019, this is an evolutionary pressure. One of the parts of this evolutionary pressure, it's definitely the security aspect. You have to be able to identify and fix, but also deploy faster, and this is where DevOps comes to play. So Alex realizes that there are a lot of things going on, and their decision is to hire a CISO, Chief Information Security Officer, and the role of CISO defines what security, what information security is. We're going to talk about that a little bit. I already introduced myself. My name is Baruch, and I'm with JFrog. One of the roles that I do in JFrog is also being the content chair for SwampUp that Ari spoke about. Just to remind you, he mentioned a couple of names, and obviously the CEO panel is a keynote, but the agenda is packed with awesome talks. Some of them, actually quite a lot of them, are about DevSecOps and security. If this talk resonates with you and you want to learn more, SwampUp is the way to go. And hey, it's free. I have a t-shirt that says free. I should have come to that and then just do, hey, it's free. But okay, Yalla, it's free also works. Anyway, Alex embarks on the journey to find a good CISO. And they learn and they kind of try to understand what CISO does. And it's a lot. The books that prepare for what's it's called, the Certified Information System Security Professional, which is the information security professional, are enormous. The test itself is hard. There are a lot of documentation and weird terms, stuff like PASTA and STRIDE and TRIKE. Those are apparently thread models. And if you thought there are only 3, there are actually much more. And all of them have very weird names and unclear definitions. And it's a lot. One more thing that Alex learns is that there are actually 2 different types of information security people. Those who come from the engineering background. And those are engineers like us. It's easier for us to talk with them. It's easier to understand their world, what they live by, and how they work. It also makes for them easier to understand what we are doing and how our software engineering works. On the other side, there are security people from compliance, and those are much harder to work with. All the stories that you hear about very tightened security that gets in the way of productivity and innovation, those get approval for use this library and this approval will take a week. Those are imposed by security professionals coming from compliance. A lot of larger firms defer to those because compliance is so important and so expensive. But in the end of the day, the people who suffer from these rigid security guidelines are the engineers like us, and that sucks. CISO is a lot of things. Those are really those T-shaped people that we spoke about, and they take care of a lot. In order to understand what they live through, we can look at this CISP exam. The CISP exam is built from many parts. All of them are the information security space. Let's look what is there. So asset security. Asset security is stuff like password policy, access cards to enter the building, and everything that has to go with access. Software development security. This is us, this is ours. That's like escaping your SQL queries. Security assessment and testing, that's the continuous process of checking that everything else is actually been done. Communication and network security, SSL, certificates, rotation of keys, security of data in transfer, and all this kind of stuff. Security engineering, this is the pipeline solutions. Those are the JFrog X-rays and the sneaks and the check marks and all those tools that take care of verifying that our software is secure during the pipelines. Identity and access management. This is all the authorization and authentication that is a part of our products, security operations, security incidents, this kind of stuff, and then security and risk management. This, if you wish, is a high-level assessment of everything that's going on. Now, those topics have different weights in the exam that kind of reflect their importance in the real world. And those, you can see the weights. If you look at two of them, which are kind of what we deal with, and that's the software development security and the security engineering, meaning writing the secure code and then building secure pipelines, are, in the end of the day, less than a quarter of the entire security picture. And obviously, if there are 78% of stuff that we don't understand and not necessarily care about, that creates, you guessed it, silos. It creates silos because the security professionals do stuff that we don't really care about. And obviously, the way that we need to think about it is the way of DevOps. How do we bring those silos down? Now, one of the ways is really try and understand the world of those security people. And we do it through the same technique that we spoke about last year when we spoke about influencing without authority. We do it through breaking down their work into the factors that really motivates them, the autonomy, mastery, and purpose, and then looking at what their fears are, what they care about, what they fear of in day-to-day. So obviously, their purpose is doing that in the best way possible. Their purpose is to make sure that the organization is secure, and when they need to react, this is how they react. They do it promptly and successfully. When we talk about their mastery, well, we just spoke what they care about and what their world looks like in terms of mastery. They need to master all of that. But obviously, the main problem for the security people are the risks. And obviously, when we talk about the risks, we talk about how they are heroes that protecting the enterprise, but in the end of the day, that's the real picture. The real picture is that those folks are dealing with huge risk every day. There are reputational risks to the company. There are financial risks to the company. There are personal information that we need to take care of, like, credit card numbers that get leaked. There is availability that we need to ensure, and some ransomware blocks our availability. See last week's Colonial Pipeline fiasco and what's not. And there are compliance that we need to make sure that we are compliant with regulations, because, for example, if we got our PCI DSS revoked, the business stops. We cannot do anything, or we get fined. And the problem with those risks is that we can be as protected as possible, but it's just so many ways an organization can get attacked: through identity theft, through malware, through viruses, through ransomware, through phishing, through weak passwords, spyware, everything. And in the end of the day, you can be protected as much as possible, but it goes down to the single janitor that has access to everything because they need to clean everywhere. And this janitor is getting hacked through some social engineering by sending them a nice cat pictures that they click without checking. We can be very protected against everything, but there are so many people and so many factors involved that it's really, really hard. So how do we protect an organization across all those topics from all those risks? The technique is called threat modeling, and I have here a short example of how threat modeling works. It's amazing. It's not mine. It's by Tiffany Liu from MIT, and she demonstrates how the threat modeling works as an example of Bruce Wayne, also known as Batman. The first thing that we need to do when we talk about threat model is to define assets that we try to protect. And the example of Bruce Wayne, those are the Batcaves, Alfred, emails, and text. On the other side, we need to define the threats to those assets. And those threats are the police, Joker, and the journalists. Obviously, they threat different assets in different ways. For example, first of all, there is weights to every threat, low risk, medium risk, high risks, and they go into different directions with different weights. So here is an example. The police threats are to the emails, to find the emails that incriminate Batman, and assets, illegal weapons in the Batcave. Joker is the biggest threat, and we think that the avenue of attack of Joker, they cannot take on Batman itself. They will try to attack Alfred. They also can try and attack the Batcave, but Alfred is kind of the biggest, the more vulnerable asset for Joker. And the journalists, well, they are a relatively minor threat. I mean, all they want is to publish stuff, and they obviously are threats. And the only thing that they can get is leaked emails or leaked text, right? So this gives you, once you do that, it gives you an idea of how you can go about protecting those assets, right? And here is the protection. So we protect the Batcave by installing a security system. It also protects Alfred in a way. We also hide the location of Alfred and the Batcave, and we obviously know in the movies that that's exactly how it's done. And then for emails and text, we just encrypt everything and then make it inaccessible for either journalists or the police. So this is, in a nutshell, how you go about threat modeling. And threat modeling works for everybody, and it works for any threat. So, for example, getting back to my example of this janitor, we need to make sure that all the employees, including the contractors, including the positions which are not kind of engineering or anything else, still get through training in which they will be told not to click on the random pictures of cats, and drills that we will go with them through emails that might be phishing and try to teach them to find the signs that those emails are phishing and drills with them, right? So what you need to remember, obviously, that threat models are different. So in Batman universe, we saw a threat model, but in other universes, for example, Sharkado, sharks are falling from the sky because there is a tornado full of them, and that's a different threat model, right? Now, this is all great, but we come back to two topics that we really care about deeply. the security engineering, and the software development security. Those two are, in essence, what we call DevSecOps. And let me go here for a sec to a rant about DevSecOps. Now, for me, I consider DevSecOps a marketing bullshit, excuse my language. Why it is marketing bullshit? Because in the end of the day, we don't need the sec in the term DevSecOps to make sure that it is included. Remember DevOps that includes QA without having it in the name? Why it cannot be for security as well? In the end of the day, in DevOps, we spoke about this simple picture. How we take developers and operations and instead of making them rivals, making them friends. Yes, they have opposite incentives. Innovation against stability. But if we can do it with developers and ops people making DevOps a reality for the last 10 days, we should be able to do the same with security. Security and developer have opposite incentives, innovation versus protection, but in the end of the day, they work for the same goal. So if they can manage to be friends with ops and work together, they definitely need to be able to be friends with InfoSec and work together. There is no difference between DevOps and DevSecOps. DevSecOps is DevOps. Now, this term is good. It is marketing, it is the same, but it's a good term because it brings the focus to this topic. We started DevOps, we forgot about QA, we add them in, and then we forgot about security, and we add them in. Having the term that puts the spotlight into this topic is important and good, because up until today, there is a lot of opposition that claims that we cannot automate security into our pipelines like we did with Dev and Ops. And in the end of the day, we end up like this. Hey, we've checked your library and you cannot use it, so find an alternative. By the way, the release is still next week. This is kind of reactive security process that we see in a lot of organizations, and it's obviously harmful not only to the productivity of developers, but to the essence of the business. How do we solve it? We shift left. What do we mean by shift left? We bring work closer to the source, closer to the developer that writes the code. How can we bring security work closer to the source? We can define where do we do our security checks. Instead of doing them a week before the release, we can do them during the code reviews. Instead of doing them during the code reviews, we can do it during the continuous integration after first commit. Instead of doing them in continuous integration, we can do them during the development in the IDE. What it means, in fact, that we need to not do it one instead of the other, but actually do all of them. Repeatedly rechecking and adding more checks, but starting those checks very, very often. What is the problem? The problem is we, as the developers who are on the left side, don't necessarily know what checks we need to do. Exactly the opposite is also the problem. The information security people don't know what our work is and why doing the security checks only before the release actually harms us. The problem, as with DevOps, exactly, is collaboration. One of the things I do a lot in my talks is recommending books. I showed you a couple of books in the beginning. That was the preparation for the CISP exam. I cannot say I recommend it for you as your night reading, what I can definitely recommend you is the Make Work Visible book. It's amazing. It's an amazing book about how you go and you explain what are you doing to other people. This is a book about DevOps. You go and you explain to the security people how the R&D works, and they go and explain to you how security works. Once this is done, you can go together and work on your pipelines to automate those checks that hold you back. And I love this picture. The only thing I don't like is the facial expressions of the people that are now stepping away from the conveyor, because those people are actually smiling and very excited instead of doing boring work of whatever they are doing, packing in the boxes. Now they're going to do the creative work of understanding how do we shift from certifying a release to certifying the pipeline. And the checks that we are now building into the pipelines are stuff like finding vulnerabilities in the source code, finding vulnerabilities in dependencies, doing automated penetration tests, check for different compliance issues, for example, licenses. All this can be automated. Now you can say, well, not everything can be automated. There are natural bottlenecks. For example, we need to stop and let the red team, those are the people who try to hack into our systems, try and hack them and do our job and do their job. They can only do it once the system is up and running, because otherwise there is nothing to hack into. While this is correct, this is a lot like the manual QA. You can make the same point for manual QA and say, hey, you cannot do manual QA until the entire system leaves because there is no buttons to click on. That's correct. How does it solve? In exactly the same way we solved the manual QA problem. Exploratory testing now is done after the system is complete or as soon as possible. But then those tests, while the QA team came up with them, become a part of an automation verification suite. It's exactly the same with the red teams in security. As soon as possible, as soon as the red team is able to start attacking our systems and finding problems, those problems now should be codified in a set of security verifications which become part of the pipelines. So yes, there is a manual part of it, exploratory security if you wish, but once we explored and we know what to check, instead of keep checking the same thing for each and every release, we are able to automate it and then move obviously much faster. There is another way to help us produce more secure content, and that's baking the security into the code. We can use services that provide security out of the box, like stuff like AWS that has all the security policies set up for us. And we can use our own best practices codified, for example, as a base image. Once we have a secure base common, people can build on top of it, and it will provide all the necessary security foundation for our code to be more secure down the road, right? Information standardization is enforced as Docker base images. One more thing that we need to make sure that we are knowing as a developers is the security policies. We can go out there and make it proactive to make sure that we know what the security policies are. We speak with security people, and then we bring it back into our engineering organization, de facto being a security champion for our entire organization. So I hope I motivate you a little bit to learn more about security. As I mentioned, SwampUp is a great resource to do that. And with that, thank you very much. I'm AJ Baruch on Twitter. If you go to jeffrey.com/show notes, you will find the slides already there. Olga will share a video with us. We will put it there as well. And obviously, don't forget the raffle. Google Hub show, whatever it's called. And with that, thank you, and questions.
Thank you. That was such a great talk. I love the Batman threat model.
Okay, now Google is speaking with me. Give me 1 sec. Sorry about that. I mentioned Google, so it jumped. Yes. Thank you, Olga. Thank you.
Some people are saying that they're seeing for the raffle link. We'll post an updated link after the meetup.
Just go to jeffrey.com/show notes. The first link there is DevOps Underground. You can go from there. And let me know if that works.
Thank you. Looks like we don't have any questions. Thank you very much. It was great having you.
Thank you. And as I mentioned, next time in person in London, I'll look for it so much.
Me too.
All
Thank
right.
you. Thank you for
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye. Next, we have Oscar. He's planning to talk about presentations in tech. Oscar, could you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Olga. Thank you for the invitation. And I'm happy to be with all of you with this amazing DevOps Underground meetup. And well, about myself, it's always a bit difficult question when you ask me what you do. I do several things. Today, I will be talking about especially my book, Rock the Tech Stage. I've written 2 books. Both are in, thank you, both are about technology and presentations, combination of that. But I also have a day job as a sales engineer in a company called UB Secure here in Helsinki, Finland. In that role, I also do several things. I do the normal sales engineering job. I also do training, so I'm a trainer there. And I also have a podcast, so I'm host of the podcast, Let's Talk About Data Identity. So I do a few things, as you see.
Wow, you're very busy.
Yeah, but today let's focus on presentations.
All right. Would you like to share your screen?
Yes, I'll start doing that. Okay, just a moment.
No worries.
Okay, perfect. I see now the share with audio. That's perfect. Okay. Okay, I guess I have to share host.
All right, I can see a screen. Excellent. Take it away.
Okay, thank you. Hi, so technology never stops. Technology never stops, and you might know very well, but sometimes things come to the mainstream as well, and we see it. Everybody sees. And one example is this: from the beginning of this year, of this month in May, in which you could see the landing of the capsule from SpaceX that came from the International Space Station. And what was particular, that's why I call the attention mostly, is because after many decades, these landings happen in the early hours, in darkness. That's not usual. And also because it's done by SpaceX, that it has a lot of attention today. So now my question would be for you, think of the main breakthroughs like this or other achievements, other innovations in technology, things that have called your attention, try to think of the ones in the last, let's say, 6-12 months. Try to think about a little bit. And now my question would be, this came from famous companies, famous people like SpaceX, or they came from companies or people who you didn't hear before? So most likely they came from already famous names. That's most likely how it happened. And from there you can see how difficult it is to stand out. And to stand out is something that you need, because all of us are convincing others that our products are the best, our technologies are the best, or our ideas are worth to be heard and shared. So in order to convince, you have to be an exceptional speaker, exceptional presenter, not only be able to convey your ideas clearly, your message clearly, but also you have to inspire audience. So the people who hear you will not only understand, but they will also spread the word about that. They will tell you, okay, interesting project you are doing. Let's share about it. Let's spread the word. Let's share on social media. Or I will support you. I will buy your product. I will try your API. I will start using your software. So in other words, you must become what I call the tech raconteur. And the tech raconteur is what I'm going to show you today. Is few pieces of my book that I just showed you, Rock the Tech Stage. So Rock the Tech Stage is mostly about 10 secrets that successful speakers in history, in also from the last years, have been using as a presentation techniques to their success in different types of aspects in technology. So from these 10 secrets, I will share for this talk, I will focus on 3 of those, which I will call them the tech raconteur's powers. So these are the essential powers to me from the 10, and from everything you can do to communicate ideas in technology. These are the top 3 to me, and I'm going to share this with you today. Ignite us with passion, simplify with stories, and teletransport us to your living room. So let's have a look at this. Ignite us with passion. As you might notice, passion is contagious. And we are seeing in this meetup, for instance, Ari and Olga are passionate about this meetup, doing this, having this community very lively. We just have seen Baruch, who you can see in his body the passion for the things that he's talking about. That's contagious. And let's see some examples. Also from the news, this is around 3 years ago. This came a bit more than 2 years ago. It came for the first time. This is the first photo of a black hole. And that was the first photo of the black hole. It was achieved via a special project in which many telescopes in different places on the world, they combine and they use special algorithms. And also there was a team of programmers who were doing the image processing using the algorithms. And actually from that team, the face you might have seen is from her. It's from Katie Bauman. She's the one who usually appears on this and is the leader of these programmers who are doing the algorithms to process these images from the different telescopes around the world and create this image of the black hole. So she already, 2 years before, at the end of 2016, she went to the red carpet of TEDx, and she presented this talk called How to Take a Picture of a Black Hole. And I don't know if you watched this, but if you watch it, you're going to see an amazing enthusiasm about astronomy, about aerospace, about the project she was doing, and of course about the programming, the algorithm. Super enthusiastic about the algorithm, showing in her voice, in her body language. Really contagious. I strongly recommend you to watch this video if you haven't. Another example, but let's see about this. If I ask you how often we see people praise in public for being passionate. Well, I just praise in public to Baruch, also Ari and Olga, but just think or try to remember how often you see people that are praised in public just for being passionate about what they say, especially when you see them. So one example that called my attention also from the recent times is this person, Panos Panay from Microsoft. I just found some random tweets. My dream is to be passionate about what I'm just doing, like how Panos Panay is. That's one example. That's a few more on the left. Thanks, Panos Panay. Passionate people and really transformative products make it easy to tell a compelling story. And on the right, another one. And Panos Panay is on stage. Truly one of the best presenters in tech, I agree, and a passionate advocate for Surface product and value proposition. So this is another person who definitely stands out. It's really one of the best presenters in tech, no doubt. But you can see also the passion, what he talks about, the products. So as you see some examples, people who are passionate stand out, and it's contagious. But now, if you want to go to the stage, start giving some talks or sharing your ideas, some advice, one of the most important advice about that is choose speaking topics that you are already passionate about. And this is very important because some of you might have already an idea of how to start speaking in meetups or in conferences, or you already started doing, but the topics that will be the easiest is the ones you already are passionate about, because you will find the stories, you will find easily the motivation to do it. So passion is very important, and it happens sometimes that, of course, for our work we might need to present, maybe not necessarily in meetups. Sometimes yes, sometimes maybe internally, but we have to do presenting our project to the rest of the company, for instance. It might be that in some cases we are going to present something that is a duty, but not our passion. That happens, and you might think, yes, sometimes it happens. But what you can try to do there is to combine your duty, what you have to present, with some of your passions. So, for instance, people are passionate about many things, like extra interest, personal interest, or hobbies. Personal interest, hobbies. Some people are passionate about running or some other sports. Can be about gardening, the ecology. Can be a bit about arts. Can be many things. Just imagine someone who is passionate about running. So you can make this parallel between running a marathon, which is about endurance, with developing a project that you know is long. It's going to be maybe not 18 months, because it's a long project. It's not something that you're going to ship in like 2-3 months. It's long. So you need endurance, you need a motivation. So always try to combine these topics. The one that might be your duty with something you are passionate about. So now passion is very important, especially to get the attention of the people, to get attention of your audience. But something important is that you talk, and at the end of your talk, people should also remember what you have said. Remember your message. Not only say, oh, this speaker was so passionate. I like him or I like her. Very interesting, but okay, I don't remember what he said. No, you have to make sure that at the end of the talk, the audience remembers your main points. And the best and the simplest tool for that is stories. So let's go with stories. First of all, why you should tell stories? I will give you three reasons why you should tell stories. So let's go one by one. The first one, stories stick in people's minds. So let's try to, I will show you now one story that you might have heard. It's quite famous. So one story that is I have seen many people sharing is about Steve Jobs when he had this Stanford commencement speech, and he had three parts has his speech. The first part was talk stories. One of the stories he talked was about when he was a dropout. He was a dropout in the Ritz College, was a liberal arts college, and he'd stayed still a few months there in the campus. And during that time, he was already a dropout. He started taking courses of calligraphy, which is something relatively unusual, not so common there. But he went very deep into that. He went very deep into that, in the beauty and art of the calligraphy, handwriting. So he learned very deeply. And what happened? Almost 10 years later, when he was already one of the leaders of Apple, and at that time, they had the vision of creating the first personal computer with an amazing user interface that is ahead of the competitors, ahead of his time, which became Macintosh. He had this inspiration and he has this knowledge that calligraphy helped design Macintosh to have this amazing user interface based on the art, on the aesthetics of the calligraphy. So that is one of the lessons. So he had to drop out. He had to have a failure in order to be successful years later. The point of the story is that you learn from your failures. Your failures are needed for your future successes. So that's a story that many people have heard and many people remember. Now, stories also make abstract facts into more digestible ideas. And this is a great example from Jane Chen from Embrace Innovations. So let's play a little clip from her.
Please close your eyes and open your hands. Now imagine what you could place in your hands. An apple, maybe your wallet. Now open your eyes. What about a life? What you see here is a premature baby. He looks like he's resting peacefully, but in fact, he's struggling to stay alive because he can't regulate his own body temperature. This baby is so tiny, he doesn't have enough fat on his body to stay warm. Sadly, 20 million babies like this are born every year around the world. 4 million of these babies die annually. But the bigger problem is that the ones who do survive grow up with severe long-term health problems. The reason is because in the first month of a baby's life, its only job is to grow. If it's battling hypothermia, its organs can't develop normally, resulting in a range of health problems from diabetes to heart disease to low IQ. Imagine, many of these problems could be prevented if these babies were just kept warm. That is the primary function of an incubator. But traditional incubators require electricity and cost up to $20,000. So you're not going to find them in rural areas of developing countries.
Yes, just to check up, did the audio work? Did you hear?
Hi, yes, we can hear.
Okay.
Everything went great.
Perfect, thank you. Thank you, Olga. Okay, what was the idea here? That Jane started with a story, the one you have seen. To introduce, at the end, she introduced the word incubator, which is the product the company is doing. Incubators, portable incubators, they don't require electricity, don't require electricity. It's much simpler. But the brilliance was that she used a concrete story, a personal story, in which she humanized technology. That's to me what she has done. She humanized technology, make it very concrete, showing us an example that a problem that affects directly big number of people, and then she moves to the problem and later to the solution. The third reason why stories are important, especially in technology, is because also your audience wants to know you as a person. So let's see one example here. This is from one developer she used to work at that time, a few years ago, in Mozilla in London, Soledad Penades. So let's watch this tiny clip at the beginning of her talk.
And I used to be in the DevOps team. I just moved to the Firefox DevTools team because I wanted to make the tools better. So I'm now an engineering manager there. And I'm also Spanish, as you can say. I'm not very, sounding English, very English. So because English is not my first language, I do things that native speakers don't, which is wonder about the language. So when I hear expressions like, it's raining cats and dogs, I'm like, what? So I went to the internet and I searched what that means. And it brings you back to an old time where the streets were full of rubbish and dead animals. And when it rained so hard that it would just carry away all the dead animals. So that's what it means that when it's raining cats and dogs. And another expression that has been interesting to me lately has been going against the grain.
Going against the grain. And that's the phrase that she uses for the rest of the talk to make the point that many developers go against the grain. So that's how she develops the biggest part of her talk. But in this beginning, the important thing is that she tells things about herself. I'm Spanish, and I live in another country, UK. So I struggle a bit with the language. So by sharing all this, the audience might say, "Oh yeah, nice. Maybe I like Spanish people. Maybe not, but I can resonate with her because I also live in a foreign country. I have to deal with the language." So these things are these already connect with people. She also did it brilliantly because first she shows one phrase that is a bit funny, like the raining cats and dogs. Has nothing to do with the talk itself, with developing. But right after that, she brings the second one, going against the grain, and that's exactly the metaphor she uses for the rest of the talk. So that's also brilliant and show us a bit of herself, and so we like more with speakers tell something about themselves. So that's the third main reason for using stories. And one quote from Dale Carnegie: "Speakers who talk about what life has taught them never fail to keep the attention of their listeners," and that's important of telling stories, especially your learning of the story, both from your failures and from your successful. People will remember that and will pay attention what you say. So please use stories and make your story your text story. We're talking about technology. Your text story shareable. So when you tell a story with a good point, make it so people will share it, will help you spread the word about what you are doing. So that's about stories. You can tell good story, people remember, but now we have a new challenge in these times. No, as Baruch said, that he will be happy to have again a meeting in London, but still it's not possible for most of the countries. So we have to deal and be really good at doing presentations remotely, how to keep the engagement, because it's harder. I think at this point, after 1 year of doing this online meeting, online presentation, you might agree with me that it's harder. It's harder to keep the attention with the audience. I don't know how people are following on the other side. It's really hard. So the third power of the Tech Raconteur is that teletransport us to your living room. And how can I teletransport you to my living room? Sounds a bit sci-fi, but the main idea is to make sure that you feel that we are close to each other. Feel that you are in front of me. You don't feel that it's one guy on the other side of the world or on the other side of the city. You feel that we are in front of each other. So that's the idea. But let's view how we can achieve that. The easiest, the most essential is asking questions. Asking questions is super important. And there is one talk, it's about programming that has been very, very well done. It's by Greg Young. In his talk, the talk is called The Art of Destroying Software. and in which you can see one slide there. In the end, he had only 2 slides. The rest of the time, he was just talking there, sitting down at the edge of the stage, very close to the audience, And how he started his talk, he started by asking questions. He started asking, how many of you have been in a talk about writing code? Then he paused. Some people raise hands. Some people say something there on the crowd. Right after that, how many of you have been in a talk about refactoring code? The same, pausing, raising hands. And that's how he did it for the rest of the talk. In this dynamic, asking questions, getting some clues, and then giving his point. Giving a new point, then asking another question, what if, how many of you, what if, bringing the next point, etc., etc., etc. Which was brilliant, very connected with the audience. And he also used another type of questions, because these are questions, the first one are questions in which the audience has to answer either of a yes or no, or maybe giving a short answer. But there are other type of questions in which he doesn't expect an answer. And he said at some point, what if you were optimized from the beginning to be able to delete code? So what if you were optimized from the beginning to be able to delete code? There he was not expecting an answer. He was not expecting an answer. He just was making us think, oh, yeah, very interesting. Reflecting. And these are they call rhetorical questions. It's like I can ask you, for instance, what if we had to do only virtual presentations for the rest of our lives? Oh, what a question. No? I'm not expecting an answer from you, but just a reflection. Rhetorical questions are also very powerful. So now let's go to what else we can do. Actually, one thing that, before going to this, one thing that Baruch also did is in teletransporting us to our living room, is that he showed his living room. So you could see in his background his living room, and nicely decorated with lights, etc., showing some of the furniture and things he had. So that gives already part of who he is, his personality. Actually, I'm showing you just a white walls, but you can do literally you can show the living room or invite into the living room, or you can do it indirectly in other ways. And that's what I'm going to show you now. What are the other ways that you can make them feel you are in the living room? We are together. It's by involving the current event, the place we are. The current event is the Meetup, the place we are. Well, I'm in Helsinki, you're in London, and maybe in even some other cities. The moment we are in this Wednesday, that here in Finland is a little bit rainy. Anecdotes, what happened. So that is important. And just to give you one example how you can do this. You can just, for instance, put a post-it note just before the event, and take some notes. So what happened recently or today? But actually, I was checking what happened today on the news just before this talk, and I didn't find too much, to be honest. Nothing. I don't think there is a Champions League or any event tonight. So I think that's why you are here with us in the audience. But yeah, it's good to show what else is happening today or recently had happened, like this. The capsule that landed on the sea, that happened just a few weeks ago. Mentioned the previous speaker. Well, as you know, this has been mentioned in Baruch several times, also Olga. You can take some anecdote about the event, so you can be taking notes what's happening since the beginning of the event until the time you are speaking. Take some notes so you can combine that in your talk. And something that is happening now. Did I put the logo of the icon of the chat? Actually, I cannot see the chat, but you can read the chat if you configure in a way. You can see the chat what people are, when you present, you can see, oh, people are saying this comment, and quickly check at the chat, make a comment about that. So that's also pretty powerful. So so the audience might say, oh, he has reacted to my chat, to my message in the chat. So there are many of these tiny details that all together will make that feeling, that aura, that we're in the same place. So feel your audience, make them feel like you are there with you. So let's break this barrier that we are in different places. So all in all, these are three ideas I wanted to show you, the three essential powers that the tech raconteur has, that again ignite us with passion, simplify with stories, and teletransport us to your living room. So make sure that your ideas are spread, are communicated in a way that maybe they will not be there in the Wall Street Journal, maybe not there, but make sure that your ideas, your innovations, your best achievements will appear, will be heard and shared on your community or in the industry you want to. So that's why it's important to rock the tech stage and become the tech raconteur. So I strongly recommend you to put in practice as much as you can from this and other ideas similar for your success. So, are you ready to become a tech raconteur?
Thank you. That was fabulous. I love the importance of stories. I'll definitely remember it for my future talks. Is there any questions for Oscar?
Yeah, the chat is very quiet.
Chat is very quiet, yes. Could you remind us about the book, where we can find it?
Yeah, absolutely. So here is the book. You can find it actually in most of web stores, in Amazon, in every Amazon from every country, but also I know that it's in several other web stores and bookstores in several countries. So you will easily find it. Just find or go to the website rockthetechstage.com and you can find a bit more information about.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. It was great having you.
My pleasure.
I hope we do get together sometime at a live meetup in London.
Oh, yes.
All right. Bye. Have a really good evening.